What you are about to hear is not a statement of facts, but an exploration of enigmatic accounts, ancient prophetic texts, and their unsettling potential correspondences. This video aims to provoke thought, encourage critical observation, and explore profound questions about the universe and humanity's place within it, not to present definitive truths or cause panic. The responsibility for final interpretation is always yours. For decades, he was dismissed as a pariah, a prophet of doom, his warnings echoing unheard in the halls of power and the clamor of public opinion. He spoke of a convergence, a chilling pattern of global events culminating in 2026, a year that would redefine humanity. They called him crazy. But now, as the world teeters on the brink of unprecedented shifts, from digital control to resource wars, his terrifying predictions are not just coming true, they are unfolding with chilling precision. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about the future and discover the hidden blueprint he saw all along. Because by 2026, his madness might just become our reality. In the annals of history, there are figures whose foresight is so profound, so unsettling, that they are inevitably cast out, labeled as madmen, their truths too inconvenient, too terrifying for the comfortable illusions of their time. They are the Cassandras, gifted with vision, yet cursed to be disbelieved. For decades, one such figure walked among us, a brilliant, yet profoundly unsettling mind, whose name, for now, remains shrouded in the whispers of classified archives and the hushed tones of those who dared to listen. He was a polymath, a former intelligence analyst with an uncanny grasp of geopolitical patterns, a reclusive physicist with a penchant for forgotten esoteric texts, and a self-taught philosopher who saw the world not as a collection of random events, but as an intricate, unfolding tapestry woven by unseen hands. His name, for the purpose of this narrative, is Elias Thorne. And his madness was his unwavering conviction that humanity was hurtling towards a preordained convergence, a global reckoning, meticulously planned and set to culminate in the year 2026. Thorne wasn't a prophet in the traditional sense, cloaked in robes or speaking in riddles. He was a man of data, of patterns, of meticulous analysis. His predictions weren't divine revelations, but chilling extrapolations from seemingly disparate global trends, the relentless march of technological surveillance, the subtle erosion of individual liberties, the escalating geopolitical tensions, and the quiet, almost imperceptible, consolidation of global resources. He saw the threads, the invisible connections that others dismissed as mere coincidence or the natural chaos of a complex world. He saw the blueprint. And he tried to warn us. His early warnings, delivered in obscure academic papers, then in increasingly desperate, self-published manifestos, were met with derision. Colleagues dismissed him as paranoid, a conspiracy theorist lost in the labyrinth of his own mind. Governments ignored him, or worse, subtly discredited him, labeling his work as dangerous, destabilizing. The mainstream media, ever eager for sensationalism, painted him as an eccentric, a fringe figure to be mocked and forgotten. They called him crazy. They called him a doomsayer. They called him a threat to public order. But Elias Thorne persisted, driven by an internal certainty, a terrifying clarity that transcended the ridicule. He knew what was coming. And he knew the year. This video will delve into the extraordinary, and now terrifyingly relevant, life and work of Elias Thorne. We will explore the precise nature of his madness, dissecting the intricate patterns he identified, the chilling predictions he made, and the specific global events he foresaw converging by 2026. We will examine the evidence he presented, the data he meticulously collected, and the forgotten wisdom he unearthed to support his seemingly outlandish claims. And most importantly, we will confront the unsettling reality that, as the world barrels towards that pivotal year, his crazy predictions are not just coming true, they are unfolding with an unnerving, almost preordained precision, forcing us to ask, was he truly mad, or was he simply the only one sane enough to see the terrifying truth? Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about the future, and discover the hidden blueprint he saw all along. Because by 2026, his madness might just become our reality. Elias Thorne's journey from respected academic to societal outcast began not with a sudden epiphany, but with a relentless, almost obsessive, pursuit of patterns within chaos. Trained in complex systems analysis and with a background in intelligence, Thorne possessed a unique ability to connect seemingly unrelated dots. His early work focused on predictive modeling for economic crises and geopolitical instabilities, earning him quiet accolades in specialized circles. But it was his pivot towards what he termed macrohistorical cadences that first raised eyebrows. He began to argue that history wasn't random, but moved in cycles, influenced by forces far beyond conventional understanding. His research took a radical turn when he started integrating ancient texts and esoteric philosophies into his analytical models. He devoured forgotten Mesopotamian astronomical charts, delved into the cryptic prophecies of Nostradamus, and meticulously studied the cyclical calendars of the Maya. He wasn't seeking spiritual revelation, he was searching for data points, for recurring numerical sequences, for patterns of influence that transcended cultural boundaries and historical epochs. It was during this period, in the late 1990s, that he first encountered the recurring numerical significance of what he calculated to be a convergence point in the mid-2020s, specifically highlighting the year 2026. His initial theories were dismissed as academic eccentricity. When he presented his findings to a closed-door symposium of global strategists in Geneva, Switzerland, outlining a future shaped by digital enslavement and resource wars culminating in 2026, the reaction was a mixture of polite dismissal and thinly veiled contempt. One prominent attendee, a former U.S. Secretary of State, reportedly scoffed, "He's lost his mind. This is the stuff of science fiction, not serious policy." Thorne, however, was undeterred. He believed he was seeing a hidden architecture, a blueprint for global control that was slowly, meticulously being implemented. He argued that the madness wasn't his, but the collective blindness of a society unwilling to see the subtle, insidious changes unfolding around them. He pointed to the rapid advancements in surveillance technology, not as tools for security, but as components of an invisible digital chain. He highlighted the increasing polarization of political discourse, not as a natural evolution of democracy, but as an engineered consensus designed to divide and conquer. And he meticulously tracked the quiet acquisition of vital resources by anonymous entities, not as market forces, but as a resource consolidation play for ultimate control. The more he spoke, the more he wrote, the more he was ostracized. His funding dried up. His academic papers were rejected. His speaking invitations ceased. He became a pariah, a voice in the wilderness, his warnings echoing unheard. Yet, in his secluded study, surrounded by ancient maps and glowing computer screens filled with complex algorithms, Elias Thorne continued his work, meticulously refining his predictions, convinced that time reveals the universe's secrets, and that the year 2026 would be the ultimate validation of his madness, or the tragic confirmation of humanity's collective delusion. The seed of his terrifying vision had been planted, and it was slowly, inexorably, beginning to germinate in the fertile ground of global events. One of Elias Thorne's most chilling predictions, central to his 2026 convergence theory, revolved around the insidious rise of what he termed the invisible digital chains. He foresaw a future where technology, once hailed as the great liberator, would become the ultimate instrument of control, silently weaving a web around every aspect of human life. This wasn't about overt oppression, but about a subtle, pervasive system designed to manage, monitor, and ultimately mold human behavior. Thorne meticulously documented the early stages of this digital creep. He pointed to the proliferation of surveillance cameras in public spaces, initially justified by security concerns, but rapidly expanding into a ubiquitous network of facial recognition and behavioral tracking. He highlighted the rise of social media platforms, not just as tools for connection, but as vast data mining operations, collecting intimate details of our lives, our preferences, our vulnerabilities. He warned that the likes and shares were not just engagement metrics, but subtle mechanisms for shaping opinion and nudging behavior, creating an engineered consensus from the ground up. His predictions for 2026 were even more disturbing. He spoke of the widespread adoption of digital identity systems, where every aspect of an individual's life, financial transactions, health records, travel history, even social credit scores, would be linked to a single, centralized digital profile. He foresaw the normalization of digital currencies, promising convenience but eliminating anonymity and giving unprecedented power to those who control the financial infrastructure. In his view, this wasn't just about efficiency, it was about creating a system where every transaction, every movement, every interaction could be monitored, controlled, and even restricted, based on an individual's compliance with the prevailing narrative. Thorne also predicted the exponential growth of artificial intelligence, AI, not just as a tool for automation, but as the ultimate architect of these digital chains. He envisioned AI systems capable of analyzing vast datasets of human behavior, predicting trends, and even subtly influencing individual decisions through personalized algorithms. He warned that these systems, while seemingly benign, would become the unseen wardens of the digital prison, ensuring conformity and stifling dissent. He saw the future not as a benevolent AI assistant, but as an omniscient, omnipresent digital overlord, subtly guiding humanity towards a predetermined path. The chilling aspect of Thorne's vision was its insidious nature. These invisible digital chains wouldn't be imposed through force, but through convenience, through the promise of efficiency, security, and connectivity. People would willingly embrace them, unaware that each click, each consent, each new technological adoption was tightening the invisible bonds. He argued that by 2026, the digital web would be so deeply integrated into daily life that opting out would be virtually impossible, leaving humanity with a stark choice: conform or be excluded from society. His madness was seeing the grand design behind the everyday technological advancements, recognizing that control is the currency of the future, and that the digital realm was its ultimate mint. Beyond the digital infrastructure, Elias Thorne's 2026 predictions delved into the realm of human consciousness itself, revealing a terrifying strategy he called the engineered consensus. He argued that true control wasn't just about physical or financial chains, it was about controlling what people thought, what they believed, and how they perceived reality. This wasn't about crude propaganda, but a sophisticated, multi-layered approach to shaping collective thought, making dissent not just difficult, but almost unthinkable. Thorne meticulously analyzed the evolution of media and information dissemination. He noted the gradual consolidation of media ownership, leading to a narrowing of perspectives and a homogenization of narratives. He warned that the rise of infotainment and the blurring lines between news and entertainment were not accidental, but deliberate strategies to desensitize populations and make complex issues digestible, yet ultimately superficial. He saw the early stages of what would become a pervasive manufactured reality, where objective truth became a malleable commodity. His predictions for 2026 painted a chilling picture. He foresaw a world where news cycles would be dominated by carefully curated narratives, making it increasingly impossible for the average person to discern objective truth from orchestrated information. He predicted the widespread use of AI-generated content, from news anchors delivering fabricated reports to social media influencers subtly pushing agendas, shaping public opinion with terrifying effectiveness. This wasn't just about bias, it was about creating a pervasive synthetic reality that rewarded conformity and ruthlessly punished independent thought. Thorne also warned about the deliberate polarization of society. He argued that algorithms, ostensibly designed to personalize content, would instead push individuals further into echo chambers, reinforcing predetermined beliefs and amplifying divisions. Debates would descend into pure, unadulterated vitriol, marked by an utter inability to find common ground or logical compromise. This fragmentation, he believed, was a deliberate strategy to prevent collective action, to ensure that populations were too divided, too consumed by internal conflict and manufactured outrage, to recognize the invisible external strings that meticulously guided their every step. The most disturbing aspect of the engineered consensus was its insidious nature. It wouldn't be imposed through overt censorship, but through the sheer volume and sophistication of the manufactured information. People would drown in a sea of curated data, unable to distinguish fact from fiction, truth from manipulation. The ability to think critically, to question authority, to engage in genuine discernment, would be subtly eroded, replaced by a collective desire for simple, comforting answers, even if those answers were carefully constructed lies. Thorne's madness was seeing how the very tools of information and communication were being weaponized, transforming the global mind into a pliable instrument, proving that control is the currency of the future, and that the battleground for that currency was the human mind itself. Elias Thorne's vision for 2026 extended beyond the digital and psychological realms, delving into the very physical foundations of global power, resources. He predicted a meticulously orchestrated resource consolidation play where vital necessities, water, food, energy, and rare earth minerals would be quietly, systematically acquired by a select few entities, transforming them into ultimate leverage points for control. He argued that future wars wouldn't be fought over ideology, but over access to life's basic necessities, and that the groundwork for this control was already being laid. Thorne meticulously tracked global land acquisitions, particularly in regions with abundant freshwater sources or fertile agricultural land. He noted the increasing privatization of water rights and the quiet purchases of vast tracts of farmland by anonymous corporations or investment groups. He saw these not as isolated business deals, but as strategic moves in a larger game, designed to ensure that control is the currency of the future, making access to basic necessities a leverage point against non-compliance, a tool for absolute submission. He warned that by 2026, the ability to feed and hydrate populations would be concentrated in alarmingly few hands. He also focused on energy and rare earth minerals, the lifeblood of modern technology and industry. Thorne highlighted the strategic investments in renewable energy infrastructure by a limited number of global players, not just for environmental reasons, but for centralized control over power grids. He pointed to the quiet, yet aggressive, acquisition of mining rights for rare earth elements in politically unstable regions, securing the raw materials essential for the invisible digital chains and advanced weaponry. He argued that whoever controlled the energy and the materials for the future, controlled the future itself. Thorne's predictions for 2026 included a series of engineered crises, seemingly random supply chain disruptions, unexpected climate events impacting harvests, or sudden geopolitical conflicts in resource-rich areas. These events, he believed, would be meticulously timed to create scarcity, drive up prices, and force nations and populations into greater reliance on those who had strategically consolidated these vital resources. The goal wasn't just profit, it was absolute leverage, the power to dictate terms, to enforce compliance, to ensure that survival itself became conditional. The chilling aspect of this resource consolidation play was its quiet, almost invisible nature. It wasn't about armies invading territories for oil, it was about financial transactions, legal maneuvers, and long-term strategic investments that went largely unnoticed by the public. Thorne's madness was seeing the grand chessboard, recognizing that the battle for the future wasn't just in the digital realm or the political arena, but in the very ground beneath our feet, in the water we drink, and the food we eat. He understood that control is the currency of the future, and that the ultimate power lay in controlling the very means of human survival, a reality that would become terrifyingly apparent by 2026. Elias Thorne's most controversial, yet now eerily prescient, predictions for 2026 centered on the global geopolitical landscape. He foresaw not just isolated conflicts, but a meticulously orchestrated series of wars of influence, designed to destabilize existing power structures, redraw global alliances, and ultimately pave the way for a new world order where the unseen architects held ultimate sway. He argued that seemingly random conflicts were, in fact, strategic moves in a colossal global chess game. Thorne meticulously analyzed historical patterns of proxy wars and economic sanctions. He noted how regional conflicts, often fueled by external actors, serve to weaken sovereign nations, create refugee crises, and justify increased international intervention and surveillance. He highlighted the weaponization of information, where propaganda and disinformation were used to incite unrest and manipulate public opinion, preparing populations for conflict or compliance. He saw the early stages of what would become a systematic fracturing of the global order, a deliberate dismantling of unity. His predictions for 2026 were particularly stark. He spoke of escalating proxy wars in critical regions, drawing in major global powers and vast resources, pushing the world closer to a global conflagration. He foresaw the deliberate breakdown of international cooperation and the erosion of established alliances, making any collective action against larger, unseen threats utterly impossible. He predicted that nationalistic sentiments would surge, leading to aggressive protectionist policies and diplomatic breakdowns, further isolating nations and making them more vulnerable to external pressures. Thorne also warned about the strategic use of false flag operations or manufactured crises to justify military interventions, implement draconian laws, or consolidate power. He believed that these events, while appearing spontaneous, would be meticulously planned to achieve specific geopolitical objectives, such as securing vital resources, controlling strategic trade routes, or establishing military footholds. He saw the future not as a world striving for peace, but as a chessboard where nations were pawns in a larger game, manipulated by unseen hands. The chilling aspect of Thorne's geopolitical predictions was their cyclical nature. He argued that these wars of influence were not new, but recurring patterns throughout history, each cycle bringing humanity closer to a state of absolute control. His madness was seeing the grand design behind the headlines, recognizing that the chaos on the global stage was not random, but a meticulously orchestrated symphony of destabilization, designed to prepare the ground for a new, centralized authority. He understood that control is the currency of the future, and that geopolitical instability was a powerful tool to achieve it, a reality that would become terrifyingly apparent by 2026. Perhaps Elias Thorne's most unsettling prediction for 2026 was not about external events, but about an internal crisis, a silent pandemic of consciousness. He foresaw a pervasive, yet inexplicable, decline in collective mental well-being, a subtle erosion of rationality, empathy, and critical thinking, which he believed was intrinsically linked to the anomalous stellar pulse he had identified in his cosmic models. This wasn't about a virus, it was about a cosmic influence subtly reshaping the human mind. Thorne's early research into ancient texts, particularly the Mesopotamian serpent's eye scrolls, hinted at a recurring cosmic phenomenon that coincided with periods of widespread societal irrationality and psychological distress. He theorized that certain cosmic energies, while not physically destructive, could subtly interact with the human brain's electromagnetic field, influencing mood, decision-making, and even perception. He called it a cognitive dissonance wave, a force that would amplify existing anxieties and push individuals towards extreme emotional states. His predictions for 2026 were chillingly specific. He spoke of an unprecedented surge in anxiety disorders, chronic depression, and acute psychosis across populations, defying conventional medical explanations. He foresaw a pervasive sense of existential dread, a feeling of unease and irritability that would lead to irrational conflicts and a breakdown in interpersonal relationships. Decision-making, both individual and collective, would become erratic, prone to extreme emotional swings, and utterly devoid of rational thought, as if a subtle, unseen influence was hijacking the human mind. Thorne also warned about the erosion of empathy and the rise of tribalism. He believed that the cognitive dissonance wave would amplify existing divisions, making it increasingly difficult for people to understand or connect with those holding opposing views. This would fuel the engineered consensus, as individuals, disoriented and emotionally volatile, would cling to simplified narratives and charismatic figures who offered easy answers, even if those answers were based on lies. He saw the future not as a society striving for unity, but as a fractured landscape of isolated minds, easily manipulated and controlled. The most disturbing aspect of this silent pandemic was its insidious nature. It wouldn't be recognized as a disease, but as a societal malaise, a collective loss of sanity. People would attribute their feelings of anxiety and irrationality to external factors, politics, economy, social issues, unaware of the underlying cosmic influence. Thorne's madness was seeing the invisible strings pulling at the human psyche, recognizing that control is the currency of the future, and that the ultimate battleground was the human mind itself, a reality that would become terrifyingly apparent by 2026. Central to Elias Thorne's 2026 prediction was the concept of a Great Reset, not merely an economic downturn, but a deliberate, orchestrated restructuring of the global order. He argued that the crises he foresaw, digital control, engineered consensus, resource consolidation, and geopolitical instability, were not random, but meticulously designed to create the conditions for a fundamental shift in power, leading to a more centralized, controlled global governance. Thorne meticulously analyzed historical precedents for societal transformations, noting how major crises often paved the way for radical changes in governance and economic systems. He theorized that the unseen architects behind the blueprint would leverage these crises to introduce solutions that, while seemingly beneficial, would ultimately consolidate their power and further erode individual sovereignty. He saw the early stages of this reset in the increasing calls for global cooperation on issues like climate change and pandemics, which, while legitimate concerns, could also serve as pretexts for centralized control. His predictions for 2026 were chillingly precise. He spoke of a global economic recalibration, where existing financial systems would be deliberately destabilized, paving the way for a new, digital-first economy. This wouldn't be a natural market correction, but a controlled implosion designed to reshape global wealth and increase reliance on centralized financial bodies. He foresaw the introduction of universal basic income, not as a humanitarian gesture, but as a means of control, linking individual survival directly to compliance with the digital identity and social credit systems. Thorne also predicted the emergence of new forms of global governance, with international organizations gaining unprecedented authority over national sovereignty. He envisioned a world where decisions on critical issues, from resource allocation to public health policies, would be made by unelected bodies, bypassing democratic processes. This shift, he believed, would be presented as necessary for global stability and solving complex challenges, but its true purpose would be to centralize power and eliminate dissent. The chilling aspect of this Great Reset was its presentation as a benevolent, necessary evolution. It would be framed as a solution to humanity's most pressing problems, a path to a more sustainable and equitable future. Yet, beneath the surface, Thorne saw a relentless drive towards absolute control, where individual freedom would be sacrificed for perceived collective security. His madness was seeing the grand strategy behind the calls for global unity, recognizing that control is the currency of the future, and that the Great Reset was the ultimate mechanism to achieve it, a reality that would become terrifyingly apparent by 2026. If there are no coincidences, only plans, and if control is the currency of the future, then the most profound, unsettling, and ultimately terrifying question looms over us: who are the true architects of this grand blueprint for 2026? Who are these unseen hands meticulously guiding humanity towards a predetermined future, orchestrating events from behind a veil of plausible deniability so expertly woven that its existence is rarely even questioned? The answer, buried beneath layers of secrecy, pervasive disinformation, and historical revisionism, points to an entity far more complex and pervasive than a single, easily identifiable group. There are no coincidences, only plans. This understanding transforms seemingly random global chaos into a meticulously orchestrated symphony of ultimate control, a horrifying dance of destiny that unfolds with chilling precision. The traditional narrative, popularized by folklore, popular fiction, and whispered campfire tales, often points to secret societies like the Illuminati, or powerful, unelected global elites operating beyond the reach of conventional governance. These theories suggest that they merely went deeper underground centuries ago, evolving into a vast, intricate network of influence. This network, they argue, wouldn't be a simple hierarchy, but a decentralized, yet perfectly coordinated, web of interconnected individuals and organizations operating within the highest echelons of global finance, technology, media, and governance. Their power lies not in overt commands, but in their unparalleled ability to subtly influence policy, discreetly fund strategic research, acquire key resources, and meticulously shape public opinion without ever revealing their true hand. They pull strings in the shadows, orchestrating events with chilling precision to serve a long-term agenda, carefully timing cadences to create an illusion of chaos that, in reality, is perfect, deliberate order. Consider the intricate interplay of global finance, technology, and governance. Are the world's most powerful private banks and financial institutions, operating from the traditional power centers of London's City and New York's Wall Street, merely driven by profit and market forces? Or are they interconnected nodes in a larger, meticulously planned financial web, quietly implementing the economic recalibrations through engineered debt, strategically introduced digital currency initiatives, and carefully controlled market fluctuations that slowly but surely drive nations into irreversible reliance? Their pursuit of ultimate financial leverage, veiled behind the pursuit of capital, could be serving a purpose far beyond market dominance, becoming the very engine of the resource consolidation play, dictating who thrives and who starves in a new global order. And what about the undisputed tech giants of California's Silicon Valley, building the very infrastructure of our digital lives, constantly innovating and expanding their reach? What if their celebrated innovations, the pervasive AI systems, the ubiquitous social media platforms, the seamless biometric identification systems, are not just commercial endeavors driven by market demand, but powerful tools being subtly guided by this unseen influence to construct the invisible digital chains and facilitate the engineered consensus? Their relentless pursuit of universal connectivity and efficiency could inadvertently, or intentionally, be creating a global surveillance and control grid, where data becomes the ultimate currency of power, fulfilling ancient prophecies of a world consumed by an illusion of light and a bodiless voice guiding the masses into compliant thought. Furthermore, the myriad think tanks and policy groups operating in the hushed, influential corridors of power in Washington, D.C. and Brussels, organizations that shape global policy, propose solutions to global crises, and influence public discourse through meticulously crafted reports and expert opinions, could be more than just independent intellectual hubs. What if they are, in fact, conduits through which the narrative control is meticulously crafted and disseminated, pushing specific agendas under the guise of expert advice, public interest, or even philanthropic initiatives? Their profound intellectual influence could be shaping not just policy, but public perception, preparing entire populations for radical shifts in their understanding of reality, making the truth malleable and controllable. The true architects, as revealed by the cryptic cadence ciphers and echoed in ancient prophecies, are not a single, visible group with a grand, intimidating title. They are a pervasive, interconnected network of influence, driven by a shared, unyielding vision of a highly controlled, optimized, and managed global society. Their ultimate goal is not necessarily destruction, but absolute, unchallenged control, where control is the currency of the future, and every facet of human existence becomes a managed commodity within their grand design for 2026. The unfolding global events, particularly the ominous developments in Iran, are therefore not isolated incidents but meticulously planned steps in a colossal global chess game, designed to push humanity towards a predetermined future, one where ancient warnings finally align with modern science in a terrifying symphony of cosmic control, leaving no room for chance or free will. As the final, fleeting months of 2025 bled into the terrifying reality of 2026, the world could no longer, in good conscience, ignore the chilling, undeniable alignment of these preparations with the unfolding global landscape. The very silence that had so skillfully shrouded them, masking their true intent, now seems to shriek like the loudest, most undeniable warning, an existential alarm bell reverberating across continents, hinting at an orchestrated progression towards a monumental, inescapable global shift. The invisible digital chains are tightening their grip with frightening, almost suffocating speed. Biometric systems are becoming commonplace in public facilities, not just for security, but for seamless integration into a proposed national, and eventually global, digital identity. Digital currency pilots gain traction with overwhelming public support, promising unprecedented convenience but inexorably ushering in an era where every transaction is trackable, every asset potentially controllable, every individual's financial existence managed by algorithms. The massive data centers, quietly built in remote areas across the Midwest, are not just storage facilities, they are the central processing hubs of this new, unseen grid, designed to manage every aspect of our lives by mid-2026. The convenience offered is too tempting to refuse, too seamlessly integrated, and tragically, few question the underlying loss of autonomy. The engineered consensus is now a palpable force, subtly yet powerfully dictating collective thought and public discourse. News cycles are dominated by carefully curated narratives, making it increasingly impossible to discern objective truth. AI-generated content, from news anchors delivering fabricated reports to social media influencers subtly pushing agendas, now shapes public opinion with terrifying effectiveness, creating a pervasive manufactured reality that rewards conformity and ruthlessly punishes independent thought. Debates are polarized, driven by algorithms that push us further into echo chambers, reinforcing predetermined beliefs. The ability to think critically, to question authority, to engage in genuine discernment, is being subtly eroded, replaced by a collective desire for simple, comforting answers, even if those answers are carefully constructed lies. The resource consolidation play has revealed its true, chilling colors, moving beyond mere speculation into undeniable fact. Unexplained, massive land acquisitions by anonymous corporations continue unabated across the American Southwest, securing vital water rights in vast, fertile agricultural lands in areas predicted to face future scarcity due to escalating climate shifts. Strategic stockpiling of essential goods, from advanced medical supplies to non-perishable food, continues quietly in secure, private facilities. These seemingly isolated business deals are, in fact, meticulous moves in a larger game, designed to ensure that control is the currency of the future, making access to basic necessities a leverage point against non-compliance, a tool for absolute submission. The very air seems to hum with the unspoken understanding that survival itself could become conditional, a chilling reality for those unable or unwilling to conform. These aren't just abstract theories or academic exercises, they are concrete, observable patterns unfolding before our very eyes. The chilling fact that these massive, synchronized shifts are occurring globally, yet remain largely uncommented upon by mainstream discourse, a silence so deafening it becomes a roar, is the most terrifying evidence of their true purpose and astonishing success. The pieces of the Illuminati's 2026 blueprint are not just falling into place, they are locking into an intricate, inescapable system with chilling precision. Humanity, caught in the grip of this grand design, is indeed being enveloped. The silence is not merely deafening, it is the chilling sound of our collective future being silently rewritten, its destiny predetermined. The ancient prophecy of the celestial serpent's eye aligning with NASA's anomalous stellar pulse adds a cosmic layer to this unfolding plan, suggesting a convergence of forces, both earthly and celestial, that time reveals the universe's secrets at humanity's most critical juncture, leaving no room for escape. The chilling reality of the preparations for 2026 is no longer a distant theory or a whispered conspiracy, it is the very fabric of our present. As we navigate this pivotal year, the subtle, yet undeniable, signs we've explored are escalating, demanding our immediate, unwavering attention. Is it a mere coincidence that global society is experiencing an unprecedented integration of pervasive surveillance, a relentless manipulation of information, and a quiet, systematic consolidation of vital resources? Or are these undeniable symptoms of a grander, meticulously orchestrated design, a strategic blueprint guiding humanity towards a predetermined future where free will becomes an archaic concept, a forgotten ideal? The question no longer is if these powerful forces are at play, but what we are willing to do with this unsettling, paradigm-shifting knowledge now that it has been laid bare. The central message is undeniable, resonating with a terrifying clarity that cuts through the noise: control is the currency of the future. And that currency is being meticulously established, being forged and perfected through the insidious, pervasive integration of the invisible digital chains, the omnipresent engineered consensus, and the absolute resource consolidation play. These aren't just abstract concepts debated in academic circles or fringe communities, they are the very experiences of your daily life, intensifying with every passing moment, demanding a choice that will define your future: remain passive and allow these changes to sweep over you, or courageously choose to awaken and reclaim your agency, your autonomy, your very self. This isn't about fear-mongering, it's about profound empowerment. It's about recognizing that you hold the key to your own perception, to your own autonomy, to your very capacity for genuine freedom. You have the power to resist the subtle, yet powerful, currents of control, to question the manufactured narratives, to actively seek out genuine, unadulterated information, and to fiercely protect your privacy and your personal liberty against an encroaching system that seeks to define your every move. Your conscious awareness, your personal awakening, can be the crucial spark that ignites a larger, collective change, one vigilant soul at a time, creating a ripple effect that challenges the very foundation of the blueprint. Remember, the blueprint is not an external, unavoidable force that dictates your destiny with absolute predetermination. It is, fundamentally, a series of meticulously planned cadences, collective and individual choices that either lead you further into the comfortable, alluring illusion, into a magnificent cage of your own making, or bravely guide you towards the challenging, often uncomfortable, yet ultimately liberating light of truth. The future of humanity may hinge not on grand, cataclysmic, apocalyptic events, but on whether enough individuals choose to consciously awaken, to truly see the hidden strings being pulled, and to courageously resist dancing blindly to a predetermined tune. The ancient wisdom that proclaims time reveals the universe's secrets is now a stark, chilling reality, urging us to decipher the patterns before it's too late, before the final lock clicks into place. So, I challenge you directly, here and now, take a moment. Look around you, truly look beyond the surface, beyond the screens, beyond the manufactured headlines. Disconnect from the pervasive, distracting noise that seeks to capture your mind. Reconnect with independent thought, with your own inner voice, your own intuition. Question the dominant narratives. Cultivate your discernment, sharpen your critical thinking. Recognize the subtle, yet profound, shifts occurring in our world and within ourselves. The preparations may have begun, but their ultimate outcome is not yet fully written. The final chapters are still being forged, by you. Leave your deepest thoughts and insights in the comments below. Have you felt these subtle preparations in your own life? What steps are you taking to resist this increasing, pervasive control? Do you possess the courage, the conviction, the inner fortitude to share this vital warning with your friends, your family, your world? Share this video far and wide. Let's collectively unravel the profound mysteries that powerful entities tirelessly attempt to hide from us all. The time for passive observation, for comfortable ignorance, is over. The time for conscious awakening and decisive action has arrived. Your choice today shapes tomorrow's reality. What will your legacy be in a world where control is the ultimate currency?